Yeah, hello and welcome to today's online tutorial session. And today we are going to look at loops. All right, so loops are basically used for iterations, right? And in most of the programming languages, you can simplify a whole lot of work by using a loop. So if you don't want to type long codes, if you don't want to, do things the manual way, which will make you or which will make your script bulky, you can simplify your work, right, by using the loops. And in Python, we have two main categories of loops. We have the for loop and then we have the while loop, right? Other programming languages have these two main categories further divided into subsets like the do until, do while, for each, for next, and so on and so forth. So let's proceed. Let's start with a for loop. So a for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. That is either a list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, or a string. So this means that before you can use a for loop, you should already have a sequence defined, right? A sequence could either be a list, a tuple, a dictionary, even a pandas data frame. But in either case, it should be a sequence that you can iterate over and then get a task done. So there's a very simple example. We have a list of fruits here, and then we are just trying to selectively extract whatever is in this list, right? So this is a very simple loop. And let's look at the syntax, right? You have to get your for statement, and then what follows your for statement is the iterator variable. Then you have to get the location, what will point the location. In this case, we use the n, right? And then the sequence name, which is the variable in which you stored your sequence. You can create a variable, you can create a sequence here, but for simplicity, your sequence should be predefined in a variable. So you can easily pass it over here. Then your colon, as usual, this is very important. And when you hit the enter key, it automatically indents, or if you are not sure, you can just leave four space bars, or you can just use the um, tablet key to indent for you. Then you get your statement here. Then you do your iteration, or you run and then your iteration is done, right? So that's a very cool syntax. And let's quickly look at the while loop, right? So with the while loop, we can execute a set of statements as long as a condition is true, right? So a while loop does an iteration or a series of iteration as long as a certain condition is true, right? So that iteration will be done over and over again until that condition becomes false. So let's look at some important things in the space of while loop. So the while loop requires relevant variables to be ready. In this example, we need to define an indexing variable I, which we set to 1, right? So our I is an indexing variable. Maybe in the case whereby you want to do an iteration whereby you use an iterating index or an index which is generated through iteration to selectively extract members in a sequence, you use a while loop so far as this condition or a condition is true, right? And one important thing you should note when using a while loop is this line of code, right? So this line of code is going to overwrite or update your indexing variable, right? So that this is what keeps the while loop running, so that your while loop will continue to run and check for this condition, right? So you are simply updating your predefined indexing variable with its initial value stated over here as 1. So it starts. Your while loop will come here. It compares I to 6, right? 6 is our stopping criteria, right? It compares. So one, yeah, 1 is less than 6. This is true. So I will just print I, and then to keep the loop running, I have to check or I have to update I, right? Increase I by 1. If I make this 2, it will increase I by 2. In that case, my loop will run faster, right? And I'll get shorter values. So if I increase it by 1, it's fine. It will come back. Is I still less than 6? So in that case, it is 2. Okay, print 2 for me, right? To come here, add 1 to 2. And to go back, 3 is 3 still less than 6 until this I becomes equal to or greater than 6. This statement will continue to run, right? And then when we finish it, you just print end of the loop, right? At the final iteration. So let's get some things done in Jupyter. You can open your Jupyter notebook and practice along. Let me check if this thing is still working. Yes. So I think I may use NumPy. So let's import NumPy into our working space and import NumPy as np. Let's run. And I've already run this thing 10 times. So let's, okay. Yes. And let's see some example. Let's see. Maybe you have an array called AR. It's a simple NumPy array. Let me create a list, a simple list using the range function and ranging from let's say 0 to 30, right? Since it is n minus 1, right? Let's see what we have here. AR is 0 to 30. So assuming I want to check for multiples of 2 or multiples of 3, right? We can use a for loop. So this is an example of a for loop. So we can say something like for then I in what AR, right? I want to check for a for loop. So I have to bring a condition inside. In Python, the simple way of doing this, or the best way of doing this, or checking this condition is by using the modulus, right? And modulus is just a percentage sign. So I can say that if I modulus what 2 and multiples of 2 gives, oh sorry, multiples of 2 give no remainder or a remainder of 0, right? So if I modulus 2 is equivalent to 0, simply print those numbers for me, and I have, yes, a set of numbers from 0 to 30. Let's say we are starting from 2 over here. Oh, sorry, we are starting from 2 over here. Yes, 2 to 30. What if I want, so these are basically even numbers. What if I want multiples of 3, right? Right. So this is a very simple case of while loops. And then um, let's see another example using the while loop, right? Let's say with the same AR array or vector, row vector. Let's say I want to maybe pick the first number here and add it to the second number or the preceding number, right? And then when it increases, so 3 plus 4, give me some result. 4 plus 5, give me some result. 5 plus 6. Let's do this iteratively, right? So I can say for maybe I in what AR, right? Let's print them. Remember, the print statement can take as many variables you want to print out as possible, provided that you separate them with a comma. So let's say I display I, then a plus sign, then the preceding number. Remember, these are what indexing variables, right? Indexing variables. So they will do the indexing over here. So go here, start the first number, right? I plus 1, which is the second number, right? This is just the representation. Let's do the computation over here, bringing an equal sign, equal to sign, and then this is where the computation occurs. I plus what? I plus 1. Simply add them for me, right? So, hey, sorry. So this is what happens when you overwrite variables, right? So I used I over here. Forgive me. So I. I. So yes, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. 3 plus 4, 7, up to the last one gives us 61. So these are simple cases of for loop. You can do a whole lot with for loop, and this has simplified my work by avoiding me or preventing me from doing this using, I could have used about 30 print statements to issue this command, or issue this, or um, produce this result, but I just used a loop, right? I just simplified everything by using a loop, with a loop containing 3 lines, or a loop made up of 3 lines. It's actually two, right? So I did this with 2 lines of code, and then we move. So let's look at some examples of while loop. I hope I spoke about that. Yeah, while loop. So let's see. Let's see. What do we have here? What do you have here? Right. Okay. Let's remember we have to get our iterator variable. Let's predefine a variable called I. I will overwrite whatever I've done at the top. So I is now 0. So we are cool. So let's get a while loop. So while I is less than what? Um, let's say the length of AR. I want to selectively extract whatever is in AR. Um, just simply print AR with the index of I for me. So this a case of what? A case of infinite loop, because I forgot to bring the last line of code. So yes, I quickly terminated it. And for some people, that would be quite unfortunate, right? So to avoid causing any crashing and whatever, you will always have to bring this line of code, which would update I, so that it will compare I to this again. So the first thing I did, I was always what? True. So that was going to run infinitely. So yeah, after I just, so in case you run into an infinite loop, it happens to anyone, even your professionals, right? Should in case you run into an infinite loop when writing out a loop, you can simply go to kernel and then restart or interrupt your kernel, right? I did a shortcut. I just did deactivated the cell and then hit 0 twice. So after doing any of them, you have to rerun every cell, right? So that was a simple demonstration of an infinite loop. Had I not terminated it earlier, this video would have paused, right? So yes, let's continue. So I just went into AR and indexed or selectively extracted all the members, right? That I could using this while loop, right? While loop, this is just a simple case. It's used for doing. You can also do some fun things. Assuming maybe you are creating or you are a web developer, right? For maybe, or you are creating an e-commerce website, right? Whereby the details of your customers should be kept secret or secured, right? So in that case, you always require a login, or maybe you are behind maybe some school websites that you need to keep the informations of the students secured. For example, our AMAP was the website, the KNST one, right? You see, after you log out, you are required to re-enter your password before you can access the website. So let's get the password from the user. The first time the user was creating his or her account, right? So let's say allow the user to input password. This time I need a string. So input password. You can write anything here. That will make the user know that, oh, I have to input my password. So whenever this line of code runs, it will ask the user for what a password, right? After this, let's say the user logs out and comes back, right? The user must, input the password that he or she, um, oh, why did I bring this? Sorry. The user must enter the password that he or she used to create the account, right? So let's say, we are humans, you can easily forget the password, especially if you create a password and you don't write it down somewhere or save it on the cloud, right? You can easily forget. So when the user forgets, let's create a while loop, or let's keep on prompting the user to, or prevent the user from entering, the website whilst the user is providing a wrong password. So let's compare this variable containing the new password, or the password that the user is trying to, use to log into the account, to the one that the user used while signing up the account, or signing up or creating the account. So while this variable is not equal to this variable or password, let's print a simple statement for the user. Print that incorrect password, then try again, right? So you notice that, one, the while loop, you should have a variable in existence, right? Use that variable to compare, or you compare that variable to an existing criteria. Once this line is true, this thing will run. So we need a stopping criteria, right? And the stopping criteria is that this thing becomes, or this password becomes equal to this, right? Notice how I differentiate the variables over here, right? So I differentiate between the variables over here. So after printing incorrect, try again. Whilst while this condition is true, this one is not equal to this. This will be updated over here. It will be updated with whatever I pass in again. So it compares it to the existing criteria. Once this condition becomes false, that is when this one is equal to or equivalent to this, the while loop will terminate. So let's run this one first. Let's say I use Eddie one, right? And I come here again. Let's obey this for loop, right? Okay, we've obeyed it. Let's disobey it. Let's say I've logged out and I'm back. I'm trying to log into my account, but Mirefi password. So I forgot that I added a one, right? Oh, it says incorrect password. Try again. Okay, let me try again. Incorrect password. Try again. Until, wow, incorrect password. Try again. Okay, until this condition becomes false, I'll get this statement or this prompt until this condition or this line of code or criteria becomes false, right? So now let's say a hacker is indeed trying to hack you. The hacker knows the first hint, which is the first, your, maybe you used your name, but has no idea, or has little idea about whatever or the number you added, right? So let's prevent the hacker or the intruder from, um, trying this over and over and over again. Else, the person might guess correctly, and when that person enters your account, you are doomed. So this is something you can do after printing this statement. maybe you can okay, let's predefine it over here as 0, right? You can increment or increase this guy by 1. After increasing it, I want to prevent or limit the user from, entering the wrong password 5 times. Or let's make it 3 so that we can easily test it. So after increasing it, let's use an if condition. So if I is equal to 5, right? Print these statements for me that your account has been blocked, right? Using some two nice exclamation marks. Then after this, I don't want the person to enter again, so I break the loop. So break statement is used for breaking whatever loop you are doing, especially the while loop, right? Use a break statement so that no matter how true or false the condition is, it breaks once a certain internal criteria is met, right? So this a fun aspect of programming. You have to think for your user, right? So that means I can pass this guy to an else condition. Else, if this condition is false, issue this command or issue this line of code, right? Else do this. So I hope I don't run into an infinite loop. Yeah, I think everywhere is clear. Let's go. Enter password. Let's obey this loop for the first time. Okay, we've obeyed you. What if a hacker comes? Right. Hmm. The hacker has little idea. Oh, hmm, hmm. I made this 5 times. Oh, okay. So let's see. Your account has been logged. Sharp. And the hacker has no, further access to um, the website or to even the portal that asks for, the password. In the film crash. So this these are some, fun things you can use for loop or some important things you can use for loop for. You can do a whole lot. I've simplified um, a work that could have taken, like about 50 lines of code. I've simplified it by using a while loop, which took less than I think 10 lines of code, right? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, right? If you add these two guys, it's ideally like 10. So yes, these are some of the things you can use your loops for, right? Depending on how well you write it. And let's do something. Let's do something chemical engineering related. I think let me use pandas. Though this is beyond our scope for now, we will deal with pandas in the future. So let me import pandas, give it an alias pd, and I think I have this database from my boss Maspolic. Let me import it here. So data is equal to pd dot. Let's read it. These are all pandas stuff, right? So pd dot read what excel. Then I think the name is what I save it as comp. Sorry, I save it as more underscore properties. Yeah, yeah, I've remembered. I'm working in the same environment or in the same directory. That's why I can do this. I would have passed the whole, directory over here. And yeah, I didn't get an error, so we are cool. So yes, yeah, this is a database. I think 468 rows or records of, compounds. And let me just head. I just want to see the first pass in there. Let's go on. Let's say I want to. So there's a whole database on its own. I want to iteratively check for heavy. molecular weight compounds, right? And then map them to their corresponding compounds the hard way. There's a simple way of doing this in pandas, but I want to do this maybe the hard way for in our case of loops. So let me get the an array. Let me extract this column down. So sorry, let me extract this guy. Um, let's see what values. So yes, it gives me an array of them. Let's call them M. So and then let's do the same thing for which one should I use? Formula or compounds? Let me use formula. Some of the names are long. So let's call it form. And then be careful when you are doing copy and paste. So dot value. So yes. So I've extracted. So yes, I want to compare or I want to iteratively check for the molecules with their molar masses, maybe between the ranges of 15 and then 40, or yes, between the ranges of 15 and 40. So let's use a for loop, a simple for loop for that. I have my molar mass extracted over here, or my molar mass is extracted over here, and then their molecular formula. After that, then I map them in a table or data frame. So let's use a for loop for, we can say that for I in M, right? And then we want to check if I is greater than 15, and then we want to compare, right? We use the end, right? And I is less than what? 40, right? Print I for me. So yes, we get this stuff right here. And I don't want it to appear like this, but I want, assuming I wanted to, create a whole array on storing these values or storing these molar masses that fell under this condition over here. In that case, there's a trick to do that. You could have used a list comprehension, but that's a bit advanced. So let's do it the hard way. It's not that hard. So let's get M array, or maybe some variable containing an empty set or empty list over here, and then we append whatever was extracted here. So there's a method in Python called append. So it's used for updating this empty list, right? So yes, we've updated MRE, run it, but we want it in the form of maybe an NumPy array. So let's say np dot what array, then mr, right? We get this, we are gone. So let's check the length using the length function. 28. Okay, that's cool. So remember I said we wanted to map it to their molecular formula, right? So you see how a while loop was used for this condition, or for used for this computation or comparison, right? So I want to map these guys, right? Now let's do something out of loops, right? So maybe this is a little lesson you can take. Um, so there's this method in NumPy called the where, right? I can come here and say that it's used for getting the index of maybe anything that you compare with the parent array. So far as that thing you are comparing with the parent array exists or is a subset of the parent array. So right, what am I saying? Let's test what I was saying. So, or let's put it into practice. np dot where, then where's the parent array? M, right? M is the parent array, through which or from which we got this array from, right? It's an array of molar masses, or the molar masses we got from our database, right? So MP dot where M is equal to what? There's a simple way of doing this, as I said, right? But that one is in pandas, and we'll touch that in the future, right? This is a long method, but not that long, where M is equal to what? Let's say the first value existing in this subset array. Okay, it tells me that that value or molar mass that I got is the seventh, or is in the seventh position, right? Or the index is 7, right? Or is the seventh member. I think it's even going to be -1 because of how Python counts. So it's even the eighth, because Python counts from 0, right? So it's the eighth object, but the index is what? 7, right? So this is what it returns. But in the case that whereby I want to just get the numbers themselves rather than being in a tuple, then array into brackets 7. No, I just want the numbers. Let's index. Okay, after indexing, I was able to remove the parentheses. This is something I discovered while practicing sometime. Right, so now after indexing twice, I get 7. Is that fine? So let's continue. So what if I want to do this iteratively, right? I was able to do this for the first one, and I want to save them in a list. There's this concept. Now we are back to loops. There's this concept called the list comprehension. It's a bit advanced, but if you don't take time, you are going to get errors. That's if you are not using only a for loop, but you have some things like the ifs, and if you don't arrange it well, you get an error. So myself, I've been getting errors, right? So let's put it in a list. You have to wrap it in a list. So a list comprehension is simplifies something like this, right? But in this case, I can use it over here because I only have a for loop. I don't have any ifs, and then you see. So np dot where m is equal to. I can say something like, I can substitute this with an I, and then I come here. Oh, I need another. Is this a parent bracket? Okay, this is a parent bracket, right? Okay, so I can come here and say that for I in what, or in who, in this guy, right? You see, I get the indexes, right? If I were having some ifs aside a for, it requires you to arrange it in a certain, format for you to achieve something similar to this, right? But in this case, I have a simple for. So it goes inside the M array, right? Takes the first, let's see M array once again. Sorry. So it takes 20.18, right? So for I in this, so when I is 1 or I is 0, it takes this 20.18, it puts it here, right? Where every member in M is equivalent to, or any member in M is equivalent to 20.18. Oh, I have 20.18 in the parent, so it tells me that 20.18 is the seventh, sorry, the eighth member in the parent object, right? Why am I doing this? I want to get this indexes. I save it inside a variable called the int variable. I want to get this indexes so that I can use it to index the formulas here. Then I get a list of formulas. Let's try this. So I save this as form, right? So yes, I can do form of then index sharp. I get this, right? I'm expecting one compound because between 15 and 40, I should get some guys like water, right? Oh, I have water over here, right? Sharp. Let's do some data analysis stuff, which I'll touch on in the future. Let's create a table for them. The only way of creating table, which I know, is using the data frame, right? So let's say something like pd.data frame, and then I pass in what a dictionary. So I want my molecular formulas to be on one side. So formula on the left side, and then let's save this guy, or we can simply pass it over here, right? Since it's an array on its own, then comma, then let's call it M for simplicity. Then M array. Sharp, I have my data frame ready. And let's see if I'm using water as a reference. If water is correct, the rest are correct. Sharp. So these are some fun stuff you can do with programming. Programming is a very fun thing, and the some of the funny things or the fun things are when you get an error and that error lashes you, and you finally find the answer to those errors. You see, it's very exciting. So yes, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed, and I encourage you to practice along. And yes, so see you next time.